Hey guys, Mustang here, bringing you another Dragon Ball Z Dokkan battle video. And so I mentioned recently that I'm going to start doing some videos now over the next week or so, preparing for the anniversary, trying to whip up the hype once again, because I know I've seen some comments from people, and it does happen every year, that obviously with the anniversary on JP happening in February, and then we have to wait, like, 4 months, 5 months, essentially. I guess, technically, like, the anniversary is pretty much beginning at the beginning of February / end of January on JP, and then it's like beginning of July on Global, so it's like 5 months, basically. And one thing that happens every year is that people's hype for the anniversary on Global starts to die down a little bit, until it gets to, like, right before the anniversary. I think I talked about it last year, where I felt the same way, right? I was feeling less hype about the anniversary until we got to, maybe even just like the week before. It might have been when the countdown celebration started. And when we get to those last few days where we get the loading screens every day where it says, like 6 days remaining and stuff like that. And then once the anniversary content does actually drop, like, if you are, a true blue global player, you kind of can't help but feel the hype. But one of the things I wanted to talk about in this video is one of the very few occasions where the kind of wonky timeline for global, like the game's not being in sync, actually is beneficial to global players. And that is to talk about some of the major buffs that the anniversary units have received, just by virtue of the fact that it's coming out now in July on Global, thanks to a bunch of stuff that has released before the anniversary for Global, thanks to same time celebrations. So, obviously we have the two headliner anniversary units, the Super Saiyan 3 Goku and Super Saiyan 2 Vegeta. These guys lead Power of Wishes or Final Trump card, 3 key and 170, and then they get an additional 30% to Connected Hope or Majin Buu Saga. And then we have the GT LR, the base Kid Goku and Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta. They lead Power of Wishes or Battle of Fate, 3 key 170, and then 30% for Final Trump card or Shadow Dragon Saga. Now, one of the things that I remember people talking about quite a lot when the anniversary came out on JP is that whilst these two units are incredible, people have soured on these guys because they're a stacking unit, which means if they get supered very early on, they take a ton of damage. But, once you get their standby off, they're essentially invincible. These two units, when they came out, maybe it was recency bias, anniversary hype, whatever you want to call it. These two were like the two best units in the game. People were really enjoying using them and everything. But the one major criticism that I saw was the fact that no one really liked their leader skill all that much. Like, Power of Wishes wasn't the craziest new category. Battle of Fate obviously is good, but kind of limited. And then these guys have Final Trump card, which again has some good units on it and is kind of limited. And then the extra 30% for both of these guys. Like, obviously Majin Buu Saga, pretty restrictive when comparing it with like the other two. Same with Connected Hope, that's not a huge category either. And then these guys, one of their 30% is Shadow Dragon Saga. So that's already one of the smallest categories in the game. So when these guys came out, their best teams, if you really wanted to use them, and obviously if you wanted to use both of them, and get their full potential, as well as having a really good suite of characters to run around them, was the Vegeta and Trunks, because they lead Bond of Parent and Child, which obviously has basically every, like, Goku and Vegeta, or Vegeta past a certain point in the series. And then the extra 30% is to Battle of Fate, which both of the anniversary LRs are on. And then there was the LR AGL Super Saiyans from the Metal Cooler movie, because they lead Joined Forces, and then their extra 30% is for Pure Saiyans. So if you have either of these two units, obviously these guys give both of the anniversary LRs a full 200% leader skill. You can run them both on the team, and then obviously you get a decent amount of good supports and things like that. Because one of the things I like for my team building, I love to be able to run good support units. And like, especially when the anniversary came out on JP, like, these categories just weren't really overflowing with good, like, third slot floating options. So the first thing I want to talk about for Global that has made a very significant difference, and people were obviously talking about this during the Saiyan Day event when it happened on JP, and that is this God Goku. So this guy was not only a huge buff to the Power of Wishes category, because, he instantly came out as, like, being one of the best TURs in the game, but his leader skill is Pure Saiyans or Hybrid Saiyans. And then his extra 30% goes to Power of Wishes or Exploding Rage. So that means obviously both the Anniversary LRs are Pure Saiyans that are on Power of Wishes. So this guy gives both of them a 200% leader skill. And say what you want about these guys. Like, I personally don't think they're that great. I know some people do really like them. Even though they're an LR, I would straight up say that this God Goku is better than them, right? So, if you want to run a 200% team that has both the new Anniversary LRs, this guy is obviously a fantastic option. He can be a really good slot 1 unit, which both the Anniversary LRs really need to have, at least for their first appearance, right? Because they start to build up. The Boo unit builds up from Supering. They build up defense, they infinitely stack, and then the GT, Goku and Vegeta, build up damage reduction. So at least on the first turn, you don't really want to be putting them in slot 1, right? And this guy not only is a fantastic unit, but very, very good in slot 1. And yeah, leads a full 200% team for both the Anniversary LRs. And this guy, you know, in general, just very, very good. In fact, if we look at, he's on Battle of Fate, because this guy counts as the like TV show version, right? He's not on well, actually he is on Movie Heroes as well, which is weird. Normally they don't do that. He's on Movie Heroes and Battle of Fate. I actually completely forgot about that, because normally it's one or the other. But I mean, that's just good for him, right? More categories is always good. So Power of Wishes, is he on? Oh yeah, he's not on Connected Hopes, is he? Even though he really should be. Yeah, you would think, you know, when all the Saiyans literally connected, like joined hands and put all of their hopes into Goku powering up to be able to defeat Beerus, you'd think he would be on Connected Hopes, but apparently not. But since he's on Power of Wishes, obviously he'll be on the 170 lead for these guys. And then, is he on Final Trump Card? He should be on Final Trump Card as well, and I'm pretty sure he's not, because he's like their final Trump Card to save the world against Beerus, and he's not on that category either, which is kind of crazy. So he's on both the 170 leads for the Anniversary LRs. I don't think that necessarily makes him a top pick for running on their teams, but if you want to run these guys under a 200% lead and have a much better team building option than running their leader skill, then this guy definitely is a super top tier choice. And then of course one massive buff that Global, well, obviously for both versions, but one massive buff for this team was the release of the LR Bulma in part 2 of the Golden Week. She, you know, came out in contention for being the best unit in the game, best LR in the game, like basically just being rivaled by LR Piccolo on Global, and then one of the Anniversary LRs for JP, because most people consider the GT boys to be better than the Boo boys. So one of the reasons why Bulma is so good, obviously, you know, the whole point of the card, she is on Power of Wishes. So even though she doesn't share any other categories apart from, actually no, they're not on Earthbred Fighters, are they? Obviously, because Vegeta's there. She's only on Power of Wishes, but both the Anniversary LRs, because it was the new category for the Anniversary on JP, these units introduced that category. They both have Power of Wishes as part of their leader skill. So that means you can throw Bulma on the team, and then obviously, you know, we all know why Bulma's so good. We talked about her a lot since she came out, but she has that off-rotation support. So you can use her as a third slot floating unit. She's going to be buffing the whole team, including the Anniversary LRs, even when she's not on the rotation. So obviously she is incredibly good. And very, very strong option for their team. The only downside, I guess, for her in some of this team building, I'm going to do a separate video on like some of the best team builds for both the Anniversary LRs. Unfortunately, she's not on this leader skill, which is a shame, but because that team would go so crazy. But yeah, Bulma, definitely a very, very good buff for the Power of Wishes team, which only helps the Anniversary LRs. And then lastly, I wanted to talk about this guy, the Tech Goku from Golden Week. Now, what's so funny is, on Global, he's actually kind of worse when he first came out, like when Golden Week has just happened, because like he needs another unit to revive, and then he becomes an absolute beast. And until you get somebody else to revive, that chance to guard has gotten me killed so many times. And the thing is, you throw him on a team with these guys, their standby ability can be used when HP is 50% or less with no turn restriction, or after receiving 4 or more attacks starting from turn 4. Now, that means that unless they were on turn 2 as their first turn, they're going to have appeared twice by this point, and you only have to receive 4 or more attacks, which in most events isn't too difficult in 2 appearances. So that means you can then get their standby. They stand by into the Super Saiyan GT Vegeta, who has very little defense, and then basically gets killed. You do the Spirit Bomb, and then you revive. And so a unit on your team revives, and then this guy becomes an absolute beast. So on JP, this goes in a much, much better place, because whilst it did give Tech Carnival Goku kind of a new lease of life, I find his revival sometimes quite inconsistent. Like, you go into an event and you get hit with like a few big attacks, but then you're like just above the threshold for getting Carnival Goku's revive. It can become very frustrating. So the GT duo give a really good, like very reliable revival option to then turn this guy into an absolute monster. And when it comes to the actual anniversary LRs, it's only the GT duo. They are on powerful comeback. So they are on this Goku's 200% leader skill, powerful comeback, and then an extra 30% to Battle of Fate. Unfortunately, the Majin Buu duo are not on powerful comeback or Earthbred fighters, so they're not on his team. I think, is he on their 170 Power of Wishes or Final Trump card? I'm pretty sure he's not. Yeah, he's not on either of those. So he's not on basically any teams really with these guys, unless you're combining them under a different leader skill. But these guys are a direct buff to him, as well as the fact that then they are on his 200% team. So if you did well out of Golden Week and you got this guy and Bulma, who is of course on Earthbred Fighters, throwing these guys on the team, kind of like the final piece of the puzzle to make that team absolutely insane. I mean, that team's already good, right? But having that unit on there to give the very reliable revival to Tech Goku is very, very powerful. So Global's in a great spot, right? The anniversary is coming up. The hype is going to come back. People are going to be getting excited. And regardless of what you think of these guys and their overall performance, like, I know a lot of people rate these guys way higher than these guys, but Global definitely has had some very interesting buffs to the meta before these guys release. Because remember, it's not just, you know, how good these units are going to be on teams with each other. It's the fact that Global, the big thing Global's going to be getting is, of course, the Shadow Dragons event, which ends with the Sin boss, which, as you guys probably know at this point, unless you don't follow Truth or like any JP content, the new Sin boss fight that we get during the 8th anniversary is the new hardest event in the game. Obviously, as always with the anniversaries, the anniversary LRs are very, very effective in those events, and having some of these other units that can provide really strong 200% teams who also perform incredibly well in those events is obviously a pretty huge W for Global. I mean, this is a thing that happens very regularly, right? Last year, for the 7th anniversary, it was the Red Zone that released and absolutely rocked the meta, but the anniversary introduced 200% leader skills with the 2 new anniversary units, but by the time Global got the anniversary, we already had 4 200% leaders on Global. Majin Vegeta, Captain Ginyu, and then the Golden Week units, the Cell and Goku Gohan. So for a lot of Global players, we'd been hearing all this talk about how crazy the Red Zone was from JP, and then if you had pulled those 200% leaders, or even 1 or 2 of them, right, it made the Red Zone so much easier. So if you're a Global player and you pulled this God Goku, if you pulled this Bulma, like, if you get the anniversary units, like, the anniversary content is definitely going to feel a lot easier. So let me know what you guys think down below. Did you get any or all of these 3 units that are going to be significant buffs to the anniversary LRs? Are you getting excited for the anniversary? Let me know down below. I'm going to be going all in for the anniversary, like probably streaming every day, tons of stuff going on, so it's going to be an exciting time. We're just kind of sat waiting at the moment for all the hype to begin, but it's definitely going to be cool once it finally arrives. So let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. So that is going to be it for the video, guys. This has been the Masked Ningen. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Check out the links down below for the Discord and the merch store, and I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.